To fear parody or criticism is a sign of weakness. It's a real weakness to want to be liked. Really, the only thing that makes sense is to strive for greater collective enlightenment. I'd rather be optimistic and wrong than pessimistic and right. We are microbes on a dust mote in a vast emptiness overwhelmingly dominated by the sun. I could either watch it happen or be a part of it. Failure is irrelevant unless it is catastrophic. No matter how hard you work, someone else is working harder. The duty of a leader is to serve their people, not for the people to serve them. I'm not trying to be anyone's savior. I'm just trying to think about the future and not be sad. Life is too short for long-term grudges. Try to be useful. Are you contributing more than you consume? I have no problem being hated. We want to look to the future rather than the past. Any product that needs a manual to work is broken. I don't start fights, but I'll finish them. It is not the degree but the skill that achieves success. I think it is possible for ordinary people to choose to be extraordinary. Nothing more precious than old friends. I was raised by books and then my parents. Science is discovering the essential truths about what exists in the universe. Engineering is about creating things that never existed. I think it's very important to have a feedback loop, where you're constantly thinking about what you've done and how you could be doing it better. People should pursue what they're passionate about. That will make them happier than pretty much anything else. When something is important enough, you do it even if the odds are not in your favor. Pay attention to negative feedback and solicit it, particularly from friends. Hardly anyone does that, and it's incredibly helpful. Generally, you want education to be as close to a video game as possible, like a good video game. You do not need to tell your kid to play video games. They will play video games on autopilot all day. I think that's the single best piece of advice. Constantly think about how you could be doing things better and questioning yourself. Everything is available basically for free. You can learn anything you want for free. When I was in college, I wanted to be involved in things that would change the world. Human civilization is still a tiny startup in the grand scheme of things. Man has the power to act as his own destroyer, and that is the way he has acted through most of his history. We are the first species capable of self-annihilation. It is important in this often difficult and troubled world for there to be things that also inspire and make you feel great to be part of humanity. Even if producing CO2 was good for the environment, given that we're going to run out of hydrocarbons, we need to find some sustainable means of operating. I'm anti-tax, but I'm pro-carbon tax. My children didn't choose to be born, I chose to have children. They owe me nothing, I owe them everything. Civilization is careening towards dystopia/utopia. I acquired Twitter to try to help humanity. I didn't do it to make more money. We're running the most dangerous experiment in history right now, which is to see how much carbon dioxide the atmosphere can handle before there is an environmental catastrophe. Timely truth is immensely important for the collective consciousness to function well. This is a battle for the future of civilization. If free speech is lost even in America, tyranny is all that lies ahead. I think we have a duty to maintain the light of consciousness to make sure it continues into the future. You get paid in direct proportion to the difficulty of problems you solve. I've actually not read any books on time management. No, I don't ever give up. I'd have to be dead or completely incapacitated. The idea of lying on a beach as my main thing just sounds like the worst. It sounds horrible to me. I would go bonkers. I would have to be on serious drugs. I'd be super duper bored. I like high intensity. One of my core responsibilities in running companies to have an environment where great engineers can flourish. People work better when they know what the goal is and why. It is important that people look forward to coming to work in the morning and enjoy working. Every person in your company is a vector. Your progress is determined by the sum of all vectors. Persistence is very important. You should not give up unless you are forced to give up. It's okay to have your eggs in one basket as long as you control what happens to that basket. I don't spend my time pontificating about high-concept things. I spend my time solving engineering and manufacturing problems. If you get up in the morning and think the future is going to be better, it is a bright day. Otherwise, it's not. If the rules are such that you can't make progress, then you have to fight the rules. Starting and growing a business is as much about the innovation, drive, and determination of the people behind it as the product they sell. It's very important to like the people you work with. Otherwise, your job is going to be quite miserable. I don't create companies for the sake of creating companies, but to get things done. I usually describe myself as an engineer. That's basically what I've been doing since I was a kid. A company is a group organized to create a product or service, and it is only as good as its people and how excited they are about creating. Starting a business is not for everyone. Starting a business, I'd say, number one is have a high pain threshold. I tend to approach things from a physics framework, and physics teaches you to reason from first principles rather than by analogy. If you need inspiration, don't do it. If humanity doesn't land on Mars in my lifetime, I would be very disappointed. The first journey to Mars is going to be really very dangerous. The risk of fatality will be high. There's just no way around it. You need to live in a dome initially, but over time you could terraform Mars to look like Earth and eventually walk around outside without anything on. So it's a fixer-upper of a planet. If we're going to have any chance of sending stuff to other star systems, we need to be laser-focused on becoming a multi-planet civilization. Mars is the only place in the solar system where it's possible for life to become multiplanetarian. I would like to die on Mars, just not on impact. The social media AI algorithms are basically dopamine maximizers. I'm a Silicon Valley guy. I just think people from Silicon Valley can do anything. I hope that even my worst critics remain on Twitter because that is what free speech means. There should be regulations on social media to the degree that it negatively affects the public good. What I'm trying to do is to make a significant difference in space flight and help make space flight accessible to almost anyone. If you go back a few hundred years, what we take for granted today would seem like magic. Being able to talk to people over long distances, to transmit images, flying, accessing vast amounts of data like an oracle. These are all things that would have been considered magic a few hundred years ago. AI needs to say the truth and know the truth, even if the truth isn't popular. I would urge parents to limit the amount of social media that children are able to see. They maximize the amount of dopamine that you get by watching the screen. Tesla is here to stay and keep fighting for the electric car revolution. We've got to be excited about the future.